Chris speaks here today with Justin Weil, who is running for county commissioner out of Madison County on the Libertarian Party. We spoke a few years ago. Glad to have him back. How are you, Justin?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Can't complain, man. So I'm curious. First thing I wanted to ask you about is I remember a while back you was involved in something called the Unity Party or an organization y'all was trying to create. Whatever happened to that?
It ended up pretty much dissolving across most of the country. Most of them ended up going into the Libertarian Party. So I went back to the Libertarian Party, and now I'm running as one.
Now, was this like a was this Unity Party? Is it going to be like try to draw Democrats, Republicans, Independents, all?
It was going to kind of do what the Forward Party is trying to do.
Okay, I'm not familiar with them. So, how did you gain ballot access as the Libertarian? I thought they had to have so many votes from the last time to get ballot access.
So they did on the state level, but luckily here in Madison County, the state has broken it down to if you meet the 20% of a county-wide position that you run in, you get ballot access for the whole county. So the Libertarians got ballot access for all of Madison County.
Okay, so you said if you get a certain percentage in Madison County, then you get on the ballot.
Right. So, like, if you ran for county commission or sheriff and you get 20% of the vote share, your party automatically gets ballot access for the next election.
Okay, which candidate or which office got that last time for you?
It was sheriff.
The sheriff got 20%. Really?
Yep.
Must have been a pretty popular guy to get that high amount of votes. So I mean, as a third party in general, especially as libertarians, they seem, not to, for some reason, I hate it. They seem to not ever able to get any traction. I got a friend, do you know Mark Lewis?
I do. Down in Mobile.
Yeah, I talked to Mark a good bit, and I thought he had a pretty good showing in his campaign. I think he got around 11% against the pretty entrenched incumbent down there. So I thought he had a pretty good showing. So did you remind me again? Did you run for office last time too, or was you just campaigning?
I was just campaigning. I was going to run for city council in Huntsville, but decided to pull the plug because I ended up having some financial hacks and people hacking into my accounts and getting them suspended. So I pulled the plug on it.
So how long have you been thinking about this county commission race?
Really, the last year, I started really kind of going to county commission meetings back in May and then kind of watching them just due to my scheduling. And it's kind of, after watching them, it's kind of like, how can you guys sit here and do what you're doing and be okay with it?
Now, um, over the really last 15 years or so, I guess, Madison County's really boomed into a the I guess metropolis of the state with the technology, Redstone, the jobs there. Uh, what exactly is going on that made you want to jump in this race? You said the statement you made about how you guys getting away with this.
The big thing is just the uncontrolled spending. The taxes they're going up. People are noticing their property taxes are higher and higher every year, but yet the services we're seeing are not getting any better. Along with that, if you look even further into it, the county has a debt of almost $4 million. So they're making more money than they ever have, and we're in debt by $4 million. And it's almost like, how can you sit here and keep taxing the poor, the rich, and everybody, and not say, all right, when do we cut off the tap on taking funds from people, and when do we pay off our debt, and when do we look at implementing policies such as property tax cuts, grocery tax cuts, any types of tax cuts that help people in the long run?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the property tax it used to be reevaluated every 4 years. They made it every year. I think that's a state issue, is it not? Now I know that the county revenue may assess your property too high. Is that what you're talking about?
Right. They do assess property very high here in the county, which then causes your property taxes to be a lot higher.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm following. I'm following where you're going to now. So your taxes are going up. Property taxes. What are taxes you say? What sales tax?
Grocery tax. So the county, has a grocery tax, and even though the state is, whittling back on the grocery tax, I feel like the county can eliminate their grocery tax in hand with it, or at least modify it in such a way that essential foods such as milk, eggs, things like that are not taxed.
Who? You said that, and probably medicine too. That's always been a big thing of mine, taking taxes off medicine. You said the county was in $4 million in debt.
Yes, $4 million in debt.
Now this is the most, uh, probably, I guess, now the most affluent county in the state. It was
Right.
Huntsville is one of the, I think, the top city in America to live in. How had they got so far in debt?
Your guess is as good as mine. The only thing I could guess to is just the uncontrollable spending that they have. I've noticed here recently that they're just giving money away to charities and stuff like it's candy and not really taking into account what it's going to do in the long term, which is contribute to inflation. And that's a big issue, we're all experiencing here in the county and across the state and the country in general.
And they're just giving money to who did you say? Just
To different charities and companies. A lot of times, like for instance, if there's road work that needs to be done, it's mostly just contracted out, and there's no bidding or anything on it. They just pay what they're going to pay.
um, I wonder what the chances are the people that are doing this road work are also friends with the commissioners who are passing it.
I would say that is a very, very high likelihood. It's a very, very tight knit community. A lot of realtors and developers and construction industry moguls all tend to meet and discuss those issues and you know basically tit for tat and take care of each other.
Have you brought up any of the concerns in these meetings?
I have not been able to go to meetings here recently just due to my schedule at work. In the past, I've just been kind of watching and listening, just taking general notes on what they're doing, just so I have a full understanding before I even decided to run.
How many county commissioners do you have?
We have a total of, I believe, six, so it's pretty well evenly distributed.
Okay. Is there is a does the probate judge sit over the as the president, or is it a rotating member?
Uh, no, we have a just an independent commissioner who's just countywide.
And he is the president.
Yes.
So, like, if I had, which this is like my wheelhouse. So, if I wanted to call and find out why they're $4 million in debt, is that the person who I have to call and speak with?
That, or you could call one of the commissioners. A lot of times it's hard to get that information. There's not a whole lot of transparency with the county commission, especially if you're trying to get minutes for meetings or even try to watch some of the meetings in the past. It's pretty difficult to find those meetings.
Um, that's supposed to fall up under what am I looking for? Is it freedom of information? Or is it something else I'm looking for? So they're not wanting to turn over or minutes of meetings?
They do, but it's a very long process to get those minutes.
Okay. So, uh, you know, I, I'm trying to figure out why, because right now, if when you look at the state coffers, we have brought in record amounts of revenue because of the jobs that have been brought into Alabama. We've never had this type of surplus before. I mean, ever, ever in our history. We was always talking about going in proration, and I'm not giving Governor Ivy all the credit. Obviously, stuff that fell in her lap by getting jobs, but I can understand because especially with all these jobs going to Madison County, how they could be $4 million in debt. Um,
It's it's a lot of money, and Before we had a change in county commissioner, we had Dale Strong, and he was looking at building a brand new, basically courthouse for the county. And I think they assessed the cost of that at almost $74 million. So it kind of begs the question of how are they going to pay for that when we're already $4 million in debt? And
Yeah.
it's not something they address.
Um. So it sounds to me like they're just building stuff just to be building it.
Pretty much, that's exactly what's happening.
And and this it's not like things that would be beneficial to citizens, like a community center or a rec center or something to go into early childhood development, education, and things of those.
Right.
Correct.
Those things they tend to leave up to the cities. The big thing that, they don't even construct is public tornado shelters for people out in the county. We get a lot of tornadoes up through, Hazel Green, Alabama, and Meridianville, and even Newmarket. And there's really no public tornado shelters. But that's where all the growth is happening too.
Yeah, I had just went up there a few months back, and that's the first time I've been up there in 15 years, and I couldn't believe how big the city had gone. And they have no tornado shelters there.
None, not unless you put one in your house privately.
What about like your first responders and stuff like that? Do you feel they're adequately funded?
I feel like they are adequately funded. The big thing that I would say needs more funding is transportation, especially public transportation.
Hmm.
Um, right now in the county, they do have a public bus service, but you've got to pay a $10 fee to ride that bus on a one-way trip.
Wow, wow.
Right, and you've got to pay beforehand, or you've got to make an arrangement for them to stop at the county commissioner's office closest to you to pay for that bus ride.
Um, do you know of any like can you name me anything off the top of your head that you know of that they've built that's like a pet project? Like we're down here, I live down here in Logan Fork, and they built a sidewalk, on a state highway that you you've heard of the bridge to nowhere. It's the sidewalk to nowhere. I mean, do you know of any things like that they've built?
Um, the the only thing I can really think of, which this was a project between both the city and the county, was the baseball stadium. It's doing well, but they took it from the old Joe Davis Stadium, and now we're out there at the Toyota Stadium, which is out there in Madison now. I felt like they probably could have just renovated Joe Davis Stadium and used that.
How does the citizenry know what's taking place? I mean, or are they blind to it, or just not paying attention? I mean, because what I've seen is so many voters just don't. Uh, you know, I'm just gonna. It is what it is. So many voters are just stupid. I
Right.
don't
A lot
know.
of people they don't pay attention. The one thing people are really starting to notice that people are starting to push back against is this uncontrolled growth. They're tired of this uncontrolled growth up here with no improvements to infrastructure. And then on top of that, we're seeing, record people driving cars here. So with how many people we've got now driving cars here, the roads that were built in the 80s that really haven't been upgraded are just way over capacity.
Well, what about the money that they got from Build Back Better or Build Back America? Surely they got a lot of money out of that.
They did, and they used it for some infrastructure projects. I believe they used it to help fund um, part of Cecil Ashburn's widening, which is in Huntsville, of course. They also used it to repave a bunch of roads. I believe they repaved Winchester not too long ago. I know that we're also looking at trying to uh, subsidize the ramps for the Toyota Stadium, which was supposed to be a developer paid for project, but I think it's kind of turned into a county and state issue.
Um, do you, and this might be a tough question, you don't know, do you know when this debt actually started to incur, or is it something just happened overnight, or?
I'm not sure. The only thing I could maybe guess to what contributed to the debt was the COVID lockdowns back in 2020 and 2021,
Yeah.
um, where they were just spending just to spend. That's really the only thing I can guess that contributed to it. But I mean, if you can look back on the county website and see every year that the county budget from 2004 has gone from $85 million to just over $270 million. So it's not like we don't have money. It's just they're not using the money appropriately.
How often did they have a county commission meeting?
It's every 2 weeks. The next one is next Wednesday.
What time does it start?
At an inconvenient time for anybody that works, 10 a.m.
Hmm. Well, it's a good thing I don't work. Um, how media friendly are they?
Um, I haven't really seen anybody from the media there other than local news stations occasionally.
So tell me about your campaign. How were I mean, I know it's going to be hard for fundraising. It seems that that's libertarians have a problem with that, unfortunately. How are you going to get your message to the people? And I mean, what is your message going to be?
So, the way I'm getting my message to the people is by using as much social media and physical interactions that I can occur. I'll go to any events that I can go to. I just happened to stumble across a race here in the today just before I got on a meeting with you. It just kind of happened to fall right where I do my weekly meet and greets at Piper and Leaf Tea House in Huntsville. Um,
Well, now what is that? You do a weekly?
Meet and greet.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
So
Um,
that's kind
Go
of
ahead.
how I'm focusing on it. But really, the big thing that I'm pushing is moving forward together, which we all need to move forward together in order to make things work. And right now, the way things are working is not working, and we're not moving forward.
When we cut tape, I'll talk to you for a few minutes. I'll give you a couple pieces or tidbits of advice if you're interested in it. Um, how many? I mean, the most important thing is getting in front of people because obviously, you're going to be outspent there by Republicans. We've seen that um, the powers that be are going to pour their money into their people. Are there any Democrats running in this fall election?
Not in my race. Right now, I'm in a primary for the Libertarian Party, which is the first primary the Libertarians have ever had. So right now, I'm going against another Libertarian to run on the general ballot in November.
What's his name or her name?
His name is Mark Jean.
Okay, I don't think I've met him. I've talked to a lot during the last election, but I don't think I've met him. So what is Justin's first enactment or first proposal when he gets into being a commissioner?
First thing I want to do, I want to reassess anything that the county is spending money on. We've got the yearly, budget reviews, and that's all well and good. But if we're just going to ignore the budget and throw it in the wind, is that really servicing anybody? And then the second thing I would do is look at implementing some environmental conservation in the county, such as maybe looking at um, getting solar panels installed on county offices to help reduce the county's dependency and draw on the electrical grid system, which, I don't know if you know, but, last a winter or two ago, we had rolling blackouts up here. The first time we've ever had rolling blackouts.
Yeah, I'm well aware of a lot of the stuff that goes on with the uh, public public service commission, or public service criminals, as I prefer to call them. Yeah, I remember that. And I even had something I wrote on that one time. But yeah, I remember when that was happening. When that went on. Um, that's going to get you vilified with some people bring up solar, though, right?
Hey, that's fine. If they don't want solar, they don't have to use it. It's all about
Um,
trying, to me, it's all about trying to get people off of government reliance. To me, solar panels are a tool that can be used to break your cycle of reliance on the government for things like power.
um, I'm working on something right now. It'll take me a few weeks, but it has to do with solar and how much of our what our energy in Alabama is actually used for. But I mean, for some reason, solar has become a code word that they break out for these liberal environmentalists, which I've never met a liberal environmentalist. I can't even tell you what the definition of them is. I just know it seems like every 2 years during a public service commission, they fly south to the winter like ducks or birds do. And, they're here to implement their agenda. But sorry, I didn't mean to get off topic there. Um, what other issues do you feel that are facing the voters that maybe you haven't mentioned yet?
Let's see. Um, Things like equal opportunity. We've got an issue with housing here in the county. We've got a
Hmm.
lot of homeless people, which, I live in downtown Huntsville, and I can go over to Big Spring Park at any time, and there'll be, 4 or 5 homeless people sleeping in the park. And we've got to do something to help these people, and not just leave them out there to fend for themselves or rely on the homeless shelter. That's
Yeah,
an issue that needs to be tackled.
that's always been a spot with me too about homeless people. We've got too many abandoned buildings, shopping malls, stores, what have you, everywhere that shouldn't be a problem. That should be taken care of easy. Um,
Right. And then, another big issue is local businesses. Well, here recently, I've noticed a flurry of local businesses shutting down that just they couldn't sustain themselves that much longer after all the COVID issues that they had. So that's something that we need to look at, is how do we energize local businesses again and begin restoring those businesses that were lost with new businesses.
um, I mean, what would the answer to that be? Cut tax? I mean, lower the tax rate so the burden's not so high on them.
That's a solution. Another one would be, maybe if they get started, maybe waive their business license fee. That's a possibility,
That's a hidden tax. Yeah, yeah.
right? Another thing that would be great would be find a way to maybe educate people on how to start a local business. So maybe, partnering with one of the universities up here and having just a small course on how to start a business.
That's not a bad idea either. Um, where do you see uh, this election? I mean, if you make it past the primary, do you think you have a chance to win this race?
I do believe I do. Historically, the district that I am in has been a district that flops between Republican and Democrats. We were really surprised that a Democrat was not running in the district, so it just makes it a little easier for a Libertarian to potentially get elected. Right now, if I were to gauge by a percentage, if I were to win, maybe by 2 or 3%. If I lost, I'd be probably guessing somewhere in the 30 to 40% range.
It's a wide range of numbers there.
It is. It's hard to predict because Democrats tend to vote Democrat and Republicans tend to vote Republican, and it's hard to gauge whether or not they'll be willing to vote for a libertarian or not.
Yeah, it really is. I've seen it in some of the public service commission races in the runoff in the general election. You almost got ballot access statewide because they came close to getting 20%. You can see that there was still like open rebellion going on among the public service criminals that hopefully will continue on and on and on. And like I said, the day I end this fight, so they take me out in the pine box. But is so. I guess the last question I have for you. What do you want the voters? The last thing you want them to hear from Justin, his final appeal that he would make right now if the vote was tomorrow?
I would say vote with your conscience. Don't don't just vote Republican, Democrat, or Libertarian because of the party. Vote on the person who really cares about what's going to happen in the community.
Justin, that sounds very sincere, man. Thanks a lot. Let's talk again real soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Let me stop this.